Hey, we're back with another video. Today, we're gonna be reacting to Thomas Sowell. If y'all know how I feel about Thomas Sowell, y'all know Thomas Sowell is definitely a very intelligent brother. I just disagree. And we're gonna have our disagreement right here today. Maybe, maybe not. But it's exposing the bitter truth on Lyndon Johnson's war on poverty. The effects that the war on poverty actually had. Let's see what he got to say. Oh, let me stop it real quick. Stop this. Oh, my bad, y'all. Oh. Yeah. Popcorn. Some of y'all was mad that I was eating, so I ain't gonna eat this time. I'm gonna definitely give a reaction, but let's get it. Let's go. Set my Pop-Tart. I mean my Pop-Tart.
On March 16, 1964, President Johnson submitted to Congress his message on poverty, urging enactment of the Economic Opportunity Act of 1964 to make national war on poverty, to achieve total victory over poverty, to conquer poverty. Among other things, the act would create job corps camps for enlistment of 100,000 unemployed young men and work training camps for 200,000 boys and girls ages 16 to 21.
I want to make a point, y'all. Did you know $4.5 trillion in tax cuts were given to the rich? That's what he's trying to get. That's what Trump's trying to start. $4.5 trillion in tax cuts. War on poverty. Do you know how much $4.5 trillion would be for every citizen? It'd be $13,000 per citizen. The highest, one of the recent things that Elon Musk found with Doge was a $25 million scandal. You know what $25 million is for each citizen? 13 cents. Just want you to think about that. Tax cuts for the rich are going to be $4.5 trillion worth. $25 million scandal that's going back to us. So we're going to get 13 cents back. When if we didn't give those tax cuts to the rich, people would get $13,000. Look into the math. It's crazy.
Would establish training programs for unemployed fathers and mothers, organize farm cooperatives for some unemployed, and provide individual farms for others. But this hardly gives an inkling of the administration's total plan for what the president calls his war on poverty. The plan includes every aspect of Johnson's domestic program: federal aid to education, farm subsidies, subsidies to business, urban renewal, medical care through Social Security, child labor laws, federal firearms control, and so on. The Constitution is a binding contract, limiting the federal government to the exercise of powers granted. There is no constitutional grant of power for any of the so-called poverty programs. Hence, all of them are unconstitutional.
Poverty programs
President Johnson made...
The man said poverty programs are unconstitutional. Tell me how. I wonder how. Don't just, he shouldn't just slip over that. Hopefully he should explain how they're unconstitutional.
The Heller Report, prepared by his Council of Economic Advisors, a part of his first economic message to Congress. The report alleged that more than 35 million Americans live in poverty, solemnly disclosing, 1, that inadequate income is the reason for poverty, 2, that low earning is the reason for inadequate income, and 3, that low earning results either because the person does not receive much pay for his work or does not work very much. The learned economists on the President's Council of Economic Advisors also discovered that some people are poor because they have no money. And they asserted that almost half of all non-whites in the United States are in poverty, and claimed that racial discrimination is a major reason for this.
Interesting enough, but when Larry Elder said, you ask Larry Elder, he would say systematic racism doesn't exist. But basically, there's a discrimination for some reason. What's the discrimination for? Why is it happening?
If all alleged racial discrimination were eliminated, how many non-whites would thus be lifted from poverty? The Council of Economic Advisors does not say, nor does it mention that the most crushing poverty among colored people, indeed the worst poverty on earth, is in such all-colored nations as Haiti, where there are no whites, where there is positively no racial discrimination against non-whites.
But whites caused the conflicts in Haiti. Like France, for example, gave them a loan, right? that they tricked them with interest rates. And same thing the U.S. The U.S. invested in them. And it was like, what ended up happening was U.S. started like, it was kind of stealing from Haiti almost in a way. It was like they gave them these faulty ass loans that were like simple to default on, and it messed up the country. So whites do play a role in why Haitians are messed up. They do. The enslavement and the freedom of the Haitians, interesting enough, from whites, whites discombobulated the nation freed themselves, and then whites offered loans that destroyed damn near their economy. Now, granted, it was some of their leaders too as well. I'm not just adding it in, but whites played a role. They definitely did. Whites played a role. He just brought up Haiti, so I wanted to give that history. I know Haiti. I study Haiti.
Presumably, American non-whites, now impoverished because unemployed, would get jobs. And employed non-whites, impoverished because of low salaries, would get better paying jobs. Where would they get these new or better jobs? They would have to take them away from whites. There is no promise in the Heller report that elimination of discrimination would create new jobs. It would merely make available to non-whites jobs that whites now have.
So basically, you should just keep discriminating, because if you don't, whites will lose jobs. That's what he's basically saying. He's admitting that there's a problem. That's what he's basically saying.
The fact is that practically every American employer, when left free to hire whom he pleases, tries to get the person best suited for the job available, regardless of race or creed.
No, they don't. They get the best. They get the person that they relate to the most. We can stop with that bullshit ass lie. That's why they want to get rid of DEI, because DEI forces them to pick the best person for the job. It does. Genuinely does. DEI forces them to look through every option possible, not just look through the white options, which in that time period, more whites are being hired than blacks. There was a reason why there's a higher level of poverty in this area. So this dude's full of shit, but it's interesting to listen to.
But the Johnson administration asserts that racial discrimination does cause poverty,
It does.
and that the Civil Rights Bill will make war on poverty by using the power of government to help non-whites and to keep private persons from discriminating against them.
And look up this, because like while he's talking about separating, I want you to look up some black groups if you got the opportunity. Look up what the Black Panthers Rainbow Coalition was trying to do. Fred Hampton's Rainbow Coalition. He was trying to combine whites, Hispanics, and blacks, poor, all together to create a system where we help each other out and build each other up. Martin Luther King, towards the end of his life, wanted social programs that would benefit everybody. Martin Luther King believed in this too. So on our end, we want to help everybody. On this end, it's like, if we give you guys anything, it's going to make us lose. That's what I'm hearing on the other side. That's what I'm hearing, man.
Yet, some administration spokesmen imply that government itself has discriminated against non-whites by giving them too much help. On February 24, 1964, Assistant Secretary of Labor Patrick Moynihan said, quote, "The most important fact of poverty in America is, without question, Negro poverty. Some have been on welfare for 3 or 4 generations. The Negro community is on the verge of being rotted in the United States because welfare corrupts people," end quote. There is profound truth in that statement. Yet liberals, while admitting the harmful consequences of their public welfare programs, want to enlarge the programs and adopt others which would make matters worse. For example, liberals want medical care added to the compulsory Social Security system. Yet the Heller report portion of the President Johnson's economic message mentions Social Security as one cause of poverty. Apparently, the President's economic advisors did not realize what they were saying. They said that some people are in poverty because of their Social Security benefits being inadequate. They're inadequate because they are related to prior earnings. This seems to mean that if a person's earnings are high during his working years, his Social Security benefits will be adequate. The benefits are inadequate for those who earn little. In other words, the social.
Hey, Pooh, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. But if I'm going to come back tomorrow morning.
Okay. I'm doing a reaction too, so you can just join in. Pooh's in here, y'all. All right, let's keep going.
Social Security
Where's
system
Mama
help
Bear?
those who
Mama
need
Bear.
help. The massive spending programs recommended by the Johnson administration, but not included in his so-called economy budget, will put a great deal of money into the hands of people who do not need it, but will do little, if anything.
I want y'all to keep in mind too. This is interesting, right? Because I'm trying to make this fair, so y'all don't hate me on this reaction. I'm trying to make this freaking fair. I am. What he's basically saying is, if we take programs away from whites and give them to blacks, we're just taking away from whites. We're not doing it like, that's basically what he's saying, right? What Martin Luther King stood for was trying to get everybody elevated to a whole nother level, right? And what Fred Hampton was doing with the Black Panthers was the Rainbow Coalition, where basically Hispanics, whites, poor, everybody could come together, right? I find it interesting when he's talking about Social Security, right? Because Social Security is predicated upon what you make throughout the entirety of your working years. So if you make between $50,000 to $60,000 to $70,000 a year, somewhere around there, you might get a terrible retirement compared to if you make $100,000 a year, you'll get a better retirement, right? That's with the Social Security programs. That's why they tell you to invest in 401ks, and they tell you to put a savings account away or something like that, right? But here's what's extremely interesting about the point that he's making, right? When the whole idea of Social Security came together, the point of it was to actually drop. Okay, let me be careful. Actually, I'm gonna make this point last. Let me hear what he's got to say. Oh, let me finish what he's got to say, and then we'll hear this point.
For the impoverished. In fact, these federal spending programs will cause more poverty.
Okay, so he did say what I was thinking.
Most of which do more harm than good. Government confiscates through taxation the earnings and savings of productive people, thus making it impossible for the people to build more enterprises and create additional jobs by spending and investing their own money. The various labor and wage control laws supported by the Johnson administration will hurt the very people whom the president proposes to help in his war on poverty.
Okay. So let's see what my man Thomas Sowell got to say. The point I was going to make, though, was we just need to enhance Social Security. We need to make it better. We need to make it better for more people in retirement. I was always thinking, like, add a little, like the government should match what, like, at a certain percentage people made, right? So at a certain percentage what you made, the government would match that for the rest of your life, like with like at least maybe another 1,000 or maybe another like 500, something like that. I don't know like how much that would be. It'd probably be like trillions of dollars though. But I mean, I was thinking of something like that because some people, when they retire with their Social Security, don't have enough because they didn't. But even if they had a 401k, they still don't have enough to retire because they live past the amount of years that it's supposed to help you. It's definitely a program we need to work on.
What is to be done? Take a look at President Lyndon Johnson speaking at Howard University in 1965.
But freedom is not enough. You do not wipe away the scars of centuries by saying now, you are free to go where you want and do as you desire and choose the leaders you please. You do not take a person who for years has been hobbled by chains and liberate him, bringing up to the starting line of a race and then say, you are free to compete with all the others, and still justly believe that you have been completely fair.
It's pathetic. It's not a question of, there's no you who has the control to be completely fair or completely unfair. I mean, the circumstances are, someone once criticized the mental tests on grounds that the tests were unfair. And I think it was David Reisman who said, the tests are not unfair, life is unfair, and the tests are measuring the results. But who has control of life?
And black life should improve.
What just happened?
But nothing of the sort has happened.
Damn, I really want to hear what he had to say. That was actually I thought that was going to be something we might agree on.
In material terms, there has been some improvement. But that improvement began long before the civil rights laws were passed. From 1940 to 1960. 1940, 87% of black families in the United States were in poverty.
87%.
87. 1960, it's 47. So there's a decline of 40 percentage points in that 20-year period.
In a generation and a half.
Yeah, and this is before the welfare state comes in under Lyndon Johnson. in the forms of the war on poverty, the civil rights laws, and so forth. Now, over the next 20 years, from 60 to 80, the rate of poverty among black families goes down an additional 18%, which is fine, but it's the continuation of a pre-existing trend at a slightly lower rate. So it's not, and yet it's credited in the media and even in academia, it's credited usually to the civil rights laws and to the Johnson War on poverty. But of course, this was just a continuation of the previous trend.
I don't disagree with what he just said. I've heard him say that before, but I don't disagree with it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about it. There's definitely work that needs to be done on it. And I think we need to focus more on getting the work done and not complaining and, whatever. Anyways, y'all. Peace.